Hello guys, Termex here, and welcome back to another Borderlands video, and today we're going to be exploring what your Borderlands 1 main says about you. If you guys do want to see future iterations like Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3, the pre-sequel, even Wonderlands, God forbid Wonderlands, then let me know in the comments down below. But really quick, gotta give a shout out to the channel's partner, Instant Gaming. If you're looking for really cheap games, check out Instant Gaming, they got you covered. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC. A bunch of you guys already bought a bunch of Borderlands games from Instant Gaming on my codes. One of you bought Wonderlands for not even $5, so I mean it's probably not even worth $5, but definitely check out Instant Gaming. Link is in the top of the description below. Appreciate you guys, help support the channel and helps get you guys the games you love at the prices you love. So for the first character, I gotta open up with Brick. Now Brick, you're a very special type of person, and not in a rude way, but you're very different. You decided in a game that was marketed for thousands upon thousands of guns, almost a bajillion possibilities of getting said guns, you chose a character that uses his fists, and only his fists. Now granted, Brick does have some explosive damage benefits and rocket launcher ammo regeneration. Generally, you're playing Brick to punch things. That's literally his whole gimmick, and it is fun. I do give some respect to these guys, and I give respect to the players that are using Brick, but at the same time, I have to associate you guys with the sound of Fight for Your Life activating when I'm playing co-op. And that always made me curious, when you guys go down, what do you guys do? Is that when you pull out the rocket launcher? That might be the Brick meta. The Brick meta might be just go meathead mode with your fists, and if all doesn't work out, just spam the rocket launcher and fight for your life. But Brick mains are generally there for the chaos. They want to be up on the front line and kill everything they can, until they realize once you hit the Seraphs and you're going against the Iridian Guardians, those big shields are not going down through your melee, unless you have the shock artifact that you can get early on in the game. I only know this because recently when I played through my Brick, I ran into the same exact issue. I had a bunch of melee damage, a good berserker comm, and yet I wasn't doing anything. But I will say the build diversity on Brick is very limited and has to be one of the most boring out of all the 4 Vault Hunters in Borderlands 1. I do at the end of the day have to respect the fellow Brick gamers that are willing to just punch the initiative in Borderlands. Up next, I feel like we have one of the most common picks for Borderlands 1, which is Roland. Now Roland is a very special character. He does have the classic take on the commando turret character that you see in many different games, MMOs, shooters, all that jazz. A generic commando soldier guy that throws out some sort of gadget, and his so happens to be a turret. Now with Roland, you're one of two things. Number one, you're in your 30s with 1 to 2 kids and just wanted to play the soldier, tough looking guy and shoot shit. I'm gonna be honest, that's all Roland really does. Or on the flip side of things, you are a solo player and you wanted that turret to be around to help you through your journey. Upon asking almost 7 of my fellow Borderlands brethren, what was your first pick in Borderlands 1? A whopping 5 out of 7 of them said Roland. So is Roland the most common pick in Borderlands 1? I don't know. That was just a small case study, but let me know in the comments down below if it was your first pick. I would like to know from this video which pick you guys picked for your first pick. That's a lot of picks. But Roland definitely caters to the solo player experience, offering you more ammo, health regeneration, a place for portable cover, and it's basically like having another friend on the battlefield, because who needs online multiplayer anyway? At least for me, when I started Borderlands 1, I did start with Lilith, so I don't know the whole jazz with Roland, but I do get it, and I do get why the character is there. Up next, we have my favorite Vault Hunter in Borderlands 1, and probably, in my opinion, the most commonly picked character in Borderlands 1, which is Lilith the Siren. Oh boy, do I have a lot of stereotypes for you guys. Now, Lilith is quite the character. Not only was she the only female character in Borderlands 1, which I guarantee you incentivized many players to pick her because reasons, but I definitely do agree that Lilith was attractive looking and definitely catered to my choice in Borderlands 1. I was young me and I was like, all these characters seem a little but I see Lilith, she's looking good, and I picked Lilith as my first Vault Hunter. Now the flip side of the coin here is I feel like a lot of people that loved Lilith were really into the warlock or sorcerer style of combat when it came to other games like Skyrim or even MMOs that are very similar. It comes down to the fact that when you play Lilith in this game, it's elemental, it's chaotic, it's elements, it's something different. It's not just guns. You're going off the grain from the normal traditional Borderlands style, and you're going into elemental damage. You have wings that sprout at your feet, and you have this little AoE of damage and fire. Even though Lilith may not seem like a very complex character on paper, when it came to a gameplay sense, I would almost argue she was the most entertaining. Now, that may be a hot take, but on a dynamic gameplay standpoint, Lilith had a bunch of different things that truly changed the way you played Borderlands 1. Mordecai, you just threw out a bird, you threw throw out a turret on Roland, you pulled out your fists on Brick, nothing was too dynamic or fun. Lilith, you could melee people and stun them, you could electrify the ground, you could cause fire on headshots. There's many different awesome skills that Lilith had that made the Borderlands 1 experience that much better, and personally, she is my favorite Vault Hunter in the game when it came to Borderlands 1. Not saying she was the best, but she was definitely my personal favorite. The only thing I really have to associate the Lilith players to when it comes to this is most of the time you guys were pretty damn toxic. I don't know if you guys remember on Xbox 360, but when I played with my friends on the 360, every Lilith I ran into on random matchmaking lobbies just wasn't too nice. That may be my childhood experience, but every time it was always an older kid. I was young at the time. I was very, very young, but it was always an older guy that just always talked shit. It's just how it was, man. But I don't know if you guys remember these memories like I do. That was my personal experience, but moving on to the final one, we got Mordecai. Now, Mordecai is quite the character. As previously mentioned, Mordecai is probably one of the more stale characters in Borderlands 1, but don't get it twisted. He is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful characters in Borderlands 1, simply with his skill tree alone, allowing him to bypass shields, insane critical hit damage, being a menace with revolvers. Mordecai is definitely someone that does not want to be messed with his skill trees, and having your Bloodwing just for extra damage, you cannot go wrong. But from a gameplay standpoint, I find him really boring, and for some reason, every Mordecai main out there, I associate you guys with Monster Energy cans. Just because when you're playing Mordecai, you have to be so cracked out of your mind at the time in the clunkiness of Borderlands 1 to be constantly hitting criticals on controller with your thumbs. It was such a task. Growing up as a console gamer, this game was borderline impossible to hit critical hits with Mordecai, with how everything jumping around with the spider ants, with the racks pulling your aim assist to the sky. To play Mordecai back then was honestly a medal of honor, and I respect any Mordecai mains out there and any Mordecai players to this day, as it is one of those great classes next to Flak. Not as good as Flak, okay, but he's up there with Flak. Alright, he has a whole hunter style to him with the pets, and I really wish Bloodwing had a little bit more to him. Yes, you can get more treasure and more loot out of Bloodwing, which was really cool. You can make him attack multiple times, but outside of that, Bloodwing wasn't really too dynamic, and 92% of the time, every time you summon his bird, it would just fly into a rock for the next 30 seconds, and you had to wait for your cooldown and couldn't really trigger anything else. But if you are the Mordecai player in the Mordecai main, you love critical hits, you love pistols, and most of the time, you probably love sniping. Now, I know there's a lot of Mordecai players that are only in for it with the revolvers, but regardless of your main in Borderlands 1, they all have their own respects and their own personalities to them. No one main is atop another, unless you're maining Mordecai. Like I said, you're an elitist. But regardless of your main in Borderlands 1, we cannot deny that Borderlands 1 was a little bit ahead of its time, even though it feels very dated to this day. Everyone had their place in Borderlands 1. If you guys want to see a video for this in Borderlands 2, please let me know in the comments down below, or just show some love on this video and let me know. You guys have a terrific day, stay safe, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on another Borderlands video from me, guys, and I'll see you all later.